everybody, Cinema Sickness here with this week's weekly review, where we take a look at all the titles I watched throughout the week, and I give you my quick thoughts on them. So let's take a look at what I watched. The first title I checked out this week was The Way. And like I said, this is one of those titles that I had been thinking about picking up for some time now. I do come across this at places like Walmart and Ollie's Bargain Outlet for $5, and I keep seeing it thinking this looks pretty interesting. Martin Sheen, written by his son Emilio Estevez. The synopsis sounded pretty cool, so it's one of those titles that I've been wanting to pick up, but for whatever reason, I've just not been getting it. So when I came across it for only $2, finally picked it up, and boy was I stupid for waiting on this one. This was a fantastic movie. It's all about Martin Sheen, who has the son, actually played by Emilio Estevez, who in real life is actually his son, who dies. He's going on this pilgrimage. In the very beginning of the pilgrimage, gets caught in this storm, ends up dying on this trail he's supposed to walk, and they're kind of not the closest of father and sons out there. They don't really get along that well. They don't really talk too much. They're not too happy with one another. But when Martin Sheen goes to retrieve his body, he kind of gets emotional over it and realizes that he does love his son and he should have spent more time with him and whatnot. And he decides to take this pilgrimage in place of his son. He's going to go walk this trail. It's this crazy, crazy, crazy long walk. I think it takes months to walk this trail. It's something a lot of people do, and he ends up meeting some people along the way, befriending them. He's kind of the grumpy sort of person who kind of keeps to himself in the beginning, but towards the end he opens up more and befriends these people who he's walking with. And it's just this great, great story about kind of a man sort of finding himself and also finding his kind of true feelings that he had for his son, who again he was kind of not the closest with, but becoming more close to him even in his death. So a really, really, really good story. One I would definitely recommend checking out. You can pick up the DVD for only $5, again, at places like Walmart and Ollie's Bargain Outlet. For $5, that is a fantastic deal, so definitely pick up The Way and check it out. You won't regret it. The next title I watched this week was Into the White. Now, this is one I've been dying to see ever since I first got my hands on it, as I've read nothing but fantastic reviews on this movie. And I'd have to say, I agree with every single one of those reviews. This was another great film. All takes place in Norway during World War II. There's British fighter pilots, German fighter pilots. They both get shot down, and they're in the middle of nowhere, crazy storm. They're in this whole mountainy area. They really have no way of surviving. They end up finding this cabin kind of around the same time, and they end up having to bunk up in this cabin to survive during the storm together. It's two groups of people who completely hate each other, who are trying to kill each other, having to kind of come together just to survive. Now, the Germans do find the cabin first, and then the British soldiers come along, and the Germans do show them a bit of compassion in the sense that they let them live. They could have just shot the British pilots outright and just be like, okay, you're dead, we're going to go in this cabin now and survive. But they bring them into the cabin as prisoners, again, let them live, and they end up working together, and even though they completely hate each other, towards the end of the film, they actually have an understanding for one another and actually become friends. And it's just a really, really interesting story just again about these two groups of people who completely hate each other, having to come together to survive, and end up becoming friends in the end. Really, really, really good story. One I would definitely recommend. If you like war films, this is definitely one to check out. If you like great dramas, this is one to check out, because it is technically a war movie, but it's not all just, gunfire and planes and tanks and things blowing up. No, it's more of a drama war movie where it's, again, these people in this cabin trying to survive and coming to realize, that they're maybe not so different after all. So I would definitely recommend this one. It's also great to see Ron Weasley in another role. Love seeing him in this film. He did a great, great job with his character. Absolutely loved him. So I would definitely recommend Into the White. Again, if you like war movies, if you like dramas, this is definitely one to see. Then I watched When Harry Met Sally, and I think we all know this is a classic. My wife actually wanted to watch this one. She said, hey, do you have When Harry Met Sally? I really want to watch it. I said, yes, I do. Brought it up, and I thought, you know what? I'm going to sit down and watch it with her. It's been a while since I've seen this one. Plus, it's Billy Crystal. How could I say no to Billy Crystal? Big, big fan of his. And this is just a great movie. This is probably at least 20 times seeing this movie. It's just absolutely fantastic. Billy Crystal, Meg Ryan. It's all a story about basically can a man and a woman be friends without becoming lovers? And we find out the answer is basically no, because of course they do end up falling in love. It becomes this great romantic comedy, and it's definitely a comedy. Very, very funny moments all throughout this movie. By far one of the best romantic comedies probably out there. I mean, a lot of people might say this is a chick flick, but it's definitely one of those chick flicks that pretty much any guy can watch. Any guy watching this is going to be fine with it, going to get a kick out of it. You're going to enjoy Billy Crystal's character. He says lots of things that are very truthful towards men. I mean, any guy watching this is going to go, yeah, that's true. Every time he opens his mouth and says, here's how men think, you're going to agree with it. He pretty much hits the nail right on the head every single time. So just a great, fantastic movie. I think we all know that. For any reason you haven't seen When Harry Met Sally, do yourself a favor. Check it out. You won't regret it. A fantastic romantic comedy that everybody should see. Next I watched Blood Simple, a Coen Brothers movie that I've definitely been wanting to check out because when this movie was showing up for only $5 at Walmart, everybody started talking about this film, trying to find it, and talking about how great it was. So of course, I went out on the hunt, finally found myself a copy, and I've been wanting to check it out ever since, so I finally sat down and watched it. And again, another great film. It's the Coen Brothers. They really can't do much wrong. Pretty much everything they have their name attached to usually turns out pretty damn good. This being no exception. Very fun, typical kind of Coen Brothers movie where there's a lot of kind of like drama going on with some mystery and some suspense, but with some comedy thrown in. This movie's pretty much got it all. Just a great, great story involving murder, but it again, it's not a simple murder case. There's a lot that goes on involving around the murder, which makes the movie very, very interesting. But what I love most about this is Michael Emmett Walsh. The fact that he actually plays a main character in this movie, I think is great. You usually see him kind of pop up as little side characters here and there in movies. It's nice to see him with a really, really good role. I think he's brilliant in it. Probably the first time, at least, that I can really remember that I've seen him in a really strong role. And just playing it beautifully, too. He's such a kind of mean, nasty character who I love every time somebody tries to intimidate him. He just doesn't give a damn. That's just the way he is. He's kind of a mean, nasty guy, but he's kind of like a mean, nasty Santa Claus in a way, because he kind of seems like, he's always just laughing and just seems so carefree and just, again, you try to intimidate him, he just doesn't care, just laughs it off. But again, he's a mean, nasty son of a bitch, and I love him in this film. So what can I say? It's a Coen Brothers movie. If you like the Coen Brothers, which I'm sure you do, how could you not? This is one to definitely check out. Just as great as the rest of their films, and one I would highly recommend. Then I checked out With Great Power, the Stan Lee story. This was a decent documentary all about Stan Lee and how he went from sort of being a nobody into being one of the greatest names in comic books. Definitely interesting to check out if you're into comic books, if you're into comic movies. This is something I'd recommend picking up and checking out. Though for some reason I was kind of left a bit disappointed. I'm not sure why. I really can't put my finger on what kind of bugged me about this documentary. Somewhere in my mind I just kind of feel it's sort of incomplete, but it's really not. It talks everything about from his birth all the way up until what he was doing at the time this documentary was filmed. And so I really don't know. I'm not sure what it is that made me kind of think it wasn't complete. It just didn't see something seemed off about the documentary. I really don't know what. I wish I could say what it was, but honestly, it was just one of those things. I just kind of got that feeling where it just something felt off about this as I was watching it, but I'm not really sure what that was. But regardless, it is still a decent documentary. You can pick it up right now for only $3.99 at Target. I would definitely say it's worth the $4. Again, if you're into comic books, if you're into comic book movies, if you just want to learn about Stan Lee and where he came from and how he rose to be who he is, this is one worth checking out. Though perhaps in the end, like me, you'll feel something was off about the documentary, but don't don't take that in a bad way, because it was still a good documentary. Even though I did kind of feel something was off, I certainly did enjoy it. I would recommend it. It's certainly worth picking up, worth a watch. For only $4, you can't go wrong. So yeah, I'd check this one out. Then I finished up Friends, the complete 5th season. Just again, another fantastic season of Friends. I keep saying this with every season. I was stupid to wait so long to get into this. It is a fantastic show. With every season that goes by, I get more and more wrapped up in these characters. I love the cliffhanger in this with Rachel and Ross getting married, perhaps. You see them storm out of a chapel in Vegas. They call each other Mr. and Mrs. What's going to happen? Did they get married? What are they going to stay married? What happened? We don't know until season 6. Great cliffhanger. So don't have much more to say about this that I haven't already said. It's Friends. I'm loving it. You guys are right. It's a great series. If you're like me and you waited a really long time to get into Friends, well, get into it because it's great. And the last title I watched this week was Flight. Another great one. Another one that I've heard really good things about. That's why I picked this one up. That's why I checked it out. And it certainly was a great film. Extremely suspenseful all throughout. Absolutely love that. From the very beginning where Denzel Washington gets on this plane, things start going pretty badly. The plane's about to nosedive into the ground, but he saves everybody. I'm sure we've all seen this scene where the plane's flying upside down. He ends up inverting the plane upside down, actually, to level it out so he can spin back around and crash land into this field as safely as he possibly can. A few people do end up dying. I think it's like 6 out of like 100 and some odd people. So all things considered, he did a pretty damn good job of saving a lot of people's lives. Though unfortunately, he was high and drunk at the time. Now, even though he was high and drunk, he still was keeping his cool, still knew what he was doing, didn't seem to, high and drunk, yeah, but didn't seem to faze him very much. But of course, once the plane crashes, obviously there's an investigation that's what happens after plane crashes. They take blood tests of everybody who was in charge of flying. All the crew members basically got blood tests. And of course, it shows up that he was high and drunk at the time. So now what's going to happen? Yeah, he's this hero who saved a lot of lives and landed this plane as safely as he possibly could. But he was high and drunk at the time. So again, what's going to happen to Denzel Washington's character? Well, Don Cheadle tries to get. He's kind of like the lawyer. He's going to get the toxicology reports erased. He's going to get rid of them. He ends up doing that, but the whole time he's basically telling Denzel Washington's character, you need to not go into a bar, you need to not drink, stop it. You can't do anything, you can't be seen drinking at all, because if they see you doing that, it could hurt your reputation, it could come back. We're trying to get this toxicology report erased. Don't do anything to screw this up. You gotta be, a perfect angel until this is all taken care of. Well, at first we see Denzel Washington saying, I'm done drinking, not going to drink again, pours out all his alcohol, gets rid of it all. It seems like the only vice he has anymore is smoking. That's it. He's not going to do any other drugs. No drinking, no more coke. All out the window. It doesn't go so well. He is pretty much a raging alcoholic, starts drinking again. Basically, it's all because he's pretty much scared shitless. He doesn't quite know what's going to happen. Even though Don Cheadle is trying to get this toxicology report erased, until that happens, he's pretty much, completely shit scared, because he could go to prison for a long time if the people investigating this crash end up finding out that he was high and drunk. Regardless of how many lives he saved, that's still extremely illegal. He's going off to prison. So of course he's scared shitless, and that's why he starts drinking again, starts doing coke again. Not too good. He ends up it's this great scene where they end up putting him in a hotel room the night before the trial. And up to this point, he's been sober for a few days because he went to a friend's house. The friend basically locked him in the house and said, you're not doing any more drugs, because even though they kept telling him not to do any more drugs, not to drink anymore, he kept doing them, and they were getting pretty pissed. And they were at one point, they were just kind of like giving up on him, and they weren't even going to help him anymore. But he comes looking for help. His friend helps him, locks him in the house. Again, he's sober for all this time. They lock him in a hotel room. Everything seems to be going pretty well. He can't sleep. He ends up hearing what sounds like knocking on a door. Turns out I'm sure you've been in hotel rooms that can have a door in between them where they can be opened up and expanding the room. Well, it turns out that the door in the other hotel room isn't locked. It's banging a bit because it's not completely shut. So he opens up his door, sees that door is open, goes inside that empty hotel room, and there's the alcohol bar. A little mini fridge just completely full of alcohol. Great scene where he opens up the bottle, he thinks he's going to drink, and goes, nah, he puts it back down. The camera stays panned on the bottle, and all of a sudden you see his hand go, shoom, and grab it. And he just gets shit drunk. They find him the next day, the day of the trial, bombed off his ass. But there's a great scene with John Goodman, because John Goodman plays a friend of Denzel Washington, and I love when John Goodman's in any film. I'm a huge fan of John Goodman. So he plays this drug dealer friend. He comes, gives him coke, because basically Denzel says, you know, coke's the only way I'm gonna be myself. You want to wake me up, you want to get me off this crazy drunk hangover I have, get me some coke and I'll be woken up. So his friend and Don Cheadle actually get him coke so he can go to this trial and not look like he's bombed off his ass. But once he gets there, you know, he was in love. Well, you could basically say he was in love. He was seeing this stewardess who was on the plane. He's been seeing her. Definitely has feelings for her. She actually ends up dying in the crash, which he's pretty upset about. And what's kind of the smoking gun is kind of, they found some empty bottles of vodka in the plane crash, and this is kind of what's sort of hanging over him. They got the toxicology report erased, that's gone, but they found these 2 bottles of vodka, which Denzel Washington did drink. In fact, he actually drank 3 of them. And they basically asked him, because the only other person they found drugs in their system of was the girl he was seeing, the stewardess. That's the only person on the flight they found drugs in, and nobody else on the flight was drinking, because Denzel Washington, since the flight was pretty choppy and whatnot, basically wasn't letting anybody drink. Drinks were not being served on this flight. So they know that somebody who had access to the drinks drank, either one of the pilots or one of the stewardesses, somebody. But again, the only person who is showing up with drugs in their system, because again, Denzel Washington doesn't have a toxicology report now, is the stewardess who he was basically seeing and for the most part in love with. And he just can't find it in his heart to say, yeah, she must have been the one who drank those, because she actually died because she was saving a boy. A boy fell out of his seat when they inverted the plane. She took off her safety belt, put him back up in his seat, and the plane crashes, and that's why she died. She died saving a little boy's life. So he just can't, you know, he's like, since he's in love with this girl and he had such strong feelings for her, he won't do it. He won't lie. He won't say, yes, she did it, just to get him off, just to save his ass. He won't do it, because in his eyes, you know, she was a great person. She was a hero. He does not want everybody remembering her as a drunk. He wants her to be remembered as the hero that she was. So he says, you know what, I did it, even though he's pretty much, at this point, scot-free. All he has to say is, yes, she must have drank those. She must have done it. I didn't see her, but she must have drank them. And he can just walk away. But he, again, says, no, I actually did it. I was drunk when I was flying the plane. I'm drunk now. I'm an alcoholic. I have a problem. And he ends up going to prison. But at this point, that's actually good for him. And there's even this kind of spiel at the end of the movie where he's basically saying that even though he's in prison right now, this is the most free he's ever felt, because he's sober. He hasn't been drinking. He's, you know, on a good path. Him and his son weren't getting along too well. At the end of the movie, his son comes to talk to him, and things just seem to be going better for him, even though he's in prison. Once he gets out, hopefully everything will be going very well, because again, in prison, things start to kind of turn around for him. So, a great movie. Again, like as I said, very suspenseful. You got the plane crashing in the beginning. That's great. You got the whole suspenseful times with, you know, is he going to drink? Is he not? What's going to happen? Is he going to go to prison? Is he not? You don't know. It's just a great film. A fantastic drama. So definitely one I recommend checking out. As you guys probably know, I just spent forever describing this entire film to you. I just give you the whole plot. And that's because I loved it, and I would definitely recommend checking out Flight if you haven't seen it. I'm sure you've heard great things about it. All those things are true. This is one to check out. So there you go, guys. That's it. That's everything I checked out this week. Definitely some great titles watched. I pretty much recommend every single one of them. Nothing bad to say about them. They're all great films. So that's it. Thanks for watching, and stay tuned for my next video. See ya.